white bigot from Alabama put in charge of a whole platoon of, young black kids. And that was like mixing oil and water. It wasn't a good situation. Army brass, all the way up the chain of command, it was a racist, horribly racist. I really felt, I felt for the black soldiers around me. Wasn't anything I could do about it. I felt for
In the book, you mentioned you extended your stay. As opposed as you were to the war, how come you extended your stay?
because I got 5 months of freedom in return.
Freedom. How did that work?
In Vietnam, when you returned from overseas, there was a strict, if you returned to the United States soil with less than 5 months of time on your itch, you were automatically discharged.
Okay.
If you returned one day before with more than 5 months of time left, you'd be reassigned. You had to serve out that whole 5 months.
Oh, okay.
And for me, it was a no-brainer to get 20. For my case, it was 25 days. I stayed an extra 25 days in Vietnam, and I got 150 days of freedom in return for that. And I've never regretted that.
Go.
Okay. What was it like to see those newly issued uniforms discarded in the street like trash? When in your book, we were talking about how when you just got an army and you were issued new uniforms and soldiers just ripped them off and threw them in the streets.
It's funny.
Funny.
Not surprising at all. The guys I returned from Vietnam with we were like wild animals. They'd been in a cage.
So was it therapeutic, like getting rid of that identity?
It was you bet you could get rid of the identity. It was like just to remove the stain of the Army in Vietnam from your body. Immediately, as soon as you walked out the gates of the base, people were literally ripping their uniforms off in the streets. And you can ask, I'm sure many Vietnam veterans could tell the same story. But it was just to remove the whole, if you wanted to just forget it and turn a page in your life at that moment. It's hard to put into words what it had been like. I go on to mention there at the end how I literally felt like a stranger in my own country, you had just returned from the jungle, and I didn't even know how to talk to people on a civilized level.
It had been so long.
Because in Vietnam, every conversation was just talking about blowing somebody's head off. And
nobody wanted to hear that back home.
No, they kind of frowned on that kind of talk. So you literally had to suck all this inside you and force yourself to learn how to live among civilized, all the nice people. Oh yeah, how are you today? Did you have a nice day? Very good, very good.
So you were kind of made to feel like that was just that identity, leave that behind and just move on. You even said in your book that you were told to just forget about it.
Oh, yeah.
That happened, move on with your life.
Forget about it.
How did that make you feel?
Surprised. To this day, I can't describe how shocked I was at my own family and friends just saying, "Oh, forget about it."
Did you expect them to be more sympathetic or?
I expected something, some kind of empathy as a human being instead of just, oh, you're home, take out the garbage. And that's about the way it was. And among your friends, nobody believes me. The worst, talking about Vietnam was not a way to make friends and influence people.
So what were some of the biggest difficulties facing soldiers when they returned home?
Everything. From readjusting. That's just, I don't know how to put that into words.
Personally, how did you readjust? What did you do? What steps did you take?
I left home, moved to another hundreds of miles away from my family, started my life over from scratch with, in an environment where at least I had a few friends who did understand. They were old Army buddies, as a matter of fact, and I had a few friends around. It's like a little support system I had of people who did understand what you'd been through.
So basically, you had to surround yourself with Army buddies to feel accepted.
Well, yeah. They were the only people you could talk to who had any understanding.
Since we're on the topic of your family, it seems like you and your father had a very, what kind of relationship did you have?
We